yeah. Oh yeah. You're feeling that, I want to see you guys in some sick, like, gamer chairs for that. Like the gun chairs, but you're still just playing Animal Crossing. Has there been any talk of doing small audience shows in the backyard? Yeah, and make a living doing so.
Is there a separate like alcohol thing hoop you have to jump through to bring drinks out?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Remember when you were sharing this space with the grown-up punk?
I think about that every so often.
It's so funny.
Like, wow, yeah, that was a thing that happened.
What are punks known for? Punctuality, not getting into like petty arguments over small spaces, being just regular aggressive instead of passive
Just
aggressive.
courteous in general. Those are qualities.
Thinking the rules apply to everyone but them. Yeah, it's true. We didn't know that this was all coming.
Oh, does it? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. The bright lights were why I didn't wear my big dog shirt. It's a little too thick. I didn't want to get too sweaty.
It might just be me on my phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I thought you meant, 4 viewers though.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
That's the key to small market social media for comedy is work desperately hard for 4 likes.
Yeah.
Brutal. Might be a hot spot. The worst thing ever. Yeah, it feels dignified, doesn't it?
No, yeah. And now we're here. We're actually here. We're here in the Stab Comedy Theater. Hello, folks at home. This is the 6 o'clock Dad Rock Talk. I'm Corey Behringer. That's Court Hansen. How you doing, Court?
I'm pretty good. How have you been since last week?
I've been well. You know, it's been much of the same. So I don't want to pretend like I have some fun anecdotes of the last week. Haven't really done much. Started a new book.
Oh yeah, what book?
Well, I didn't actually even start it yet. I came in the mail.
Oh, okay.
I finished the most recent, one of the most recent Stephen King collections
Bizarre
Bad Dreams. So I finished that, and then in the mail I got Revival.
Oh, Revival's great. I was thinking about Revival while I was putting my list of things for today together, because when they inevitably make a movie of it, I hope they incorporate the dad rock elements, because they're heavy in that book.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic that it just came around like that. We didn't plan this.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's not terribly surprising considering Stephen King's penchant for the dad rock.
Yeah, he might be
vibe.
like the dad rock generation's most iconic.
Idolized
That's
and
the word I'm
iconic
looking
for literature. Absolutely. He's the go-to.
More than a lot of more critically highly regarded people, I think.
Easily. Yeah.
I think that Stephen King probably has a bigger legacy than Tom Wolfe, who wrote Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test.
Oh, yeah.
Still a really good book, still really interesting, but it's not it. I think Stephen King kind of chronicled the youth and then aging of that baby boomer generation.
Yeah.
And he's very in tune with the pop culture of that generation as well, which is nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it never feels too unwieldy or over the top. It always feels like he's writing from a place of genuine love for a certain era, and finding that era seeping into modern day. He delves into that a lot. But that's not what we're here to talk about this week, folks.
Not that
this
much.
week, Dad Rock goes to the movies. We are going to be watching some of our favorite clips and trailers from some outrageous movies featuring bands. It's not necessarily biopics specifically. Some of them are complete fiction. None of them are documentaries. These are all feature films.
Yeah, I kind of went by the rules of it's a movie where either live music or the soundtrack are big factors into the overall themes and tone of the movie. So a movie that might not have musicians performing in it, but one that still has characters talking about music of the time, and the soundtrack is all music of the time, and they listen to it within the movie. I considered movies like that as well.
Okay. I didn't, but I'm looking forward to those choices.
Cool.
Because that's not where my head was at with this. But I think that's one of the neat things about this show is Court and I kind of come at things from a different angle.
Yeah, we have kind of a vague starting premise for what our topic is, and then we both approach it however we think is best.
And I will say before heading into it, I guess I'll sort of admit I'm a little cynical when it comes to some of those kind of movies I think you're referring to. I liked them more as a kid, stuff like High Fidelity, that kind of thing. I mean, I think that's the perfect example of what you're explaining.
I'm not a huge fan of High Fidelity.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean.
Yeah, I feel for a lot of people, though, those craft their entire identities.
Yeah.
I knew so many people who were high fidelity people. Just later on in life, I met people who were Empire Records kind of people.
The Empire Records one is even more, I think, forced of a personality trait. It's Gen X is still around. We're still here.
Exactly.
That's how it reads to me, a millennial-aged person.
Yeah.
As it reads is there's this movie that's about 90s music, so this is the one that we all love.
And what else you got?
Really bad, not good movie.
It's not a good movie
it
at
looks
all.
so cheap. It's out of focus most of the movie, it feels like.
And it's a premise that doesn't make any sense.
No.
At all.
Why is a record store that's able to book a lounge singer act as famous as Rex Manning, and he's famous in that world, why are they also having financial problems?
Yeah.
Why are they one day away from being shut down?
Yeah.
And why is the income from a lounge singer guy
a make or break situation? And why does a single safe of cash, why is that their entire fortune?
Yeah, what is this, a Coen Brothers
banks.
movie?
There are banks. But I think there's going to be some in this show that I have a genuine love for. So I'm a little more excited to even get into those. So let's just jump right into it. See if this works.
fooling about with it for a few months now. Very delicate.
It's a bit of a departure from the kind of thing you normally play.
Yeah, well, it's part of a trilogy, really, a musical trilogy that I'm doing in D minor, which I always find is really the saddest of all keys, really. I don't know why, but it makes people weep instantly to play a... It's a horn part.
It's very pretty.
You know, just simple lines intertwining. You know, very much like I'm really influenced by Mozart and Bach, and it's sort of in between though. It's like a Mach piece, really.
What do you call this?
Well, this piece is called Lick My Love Pump.
Perfect joke. That
Yeah.
is one of the most perfectly crafted jokes. I mean, just apart from being so funny for that punchline, like the substance of the build-up, like the fact that it isn't a boring melody or just a simple. He's playing beautiful music.
Yeah.
And like when he starts singing his horn melody over the top of it, my heart actually kind of it weeps a little.
Sounds
for
like
him.
Neutral Milk Hotel.
Oh yeah, it's just so lovely. And then Lick My Love Pump. So that
Yeah.
was for those of you born under a rock. This is Spinal Tap, a scene from it, and just it's the ultimate still like mockumentary, like rock mockumentary that started a wave of like the Christopher Guest films that came after it, which I've been in a big phase with again.
Yeah.
Like since the death recently, I've gone back and watched all the Christopher Guest movies in the last couple of weeks. All of them hold up, of
You
course.
mean Death of Fred Willard, not
Fred
Christopher
Willard.
Guest.
Yes. For some reason, his name wasn't coming to me.
And you're hoping I'd get there first? It
Yes,
took me a sec. Yeah.
that's exactly it. And oh my God, like Fred Willard in all of those movies is just a force of nature.
Yeah, he's just naturally the funniest person ever, I think.
Yeah, it's so perfect.
And every single one has his characters in all of those movies, they just have the dumbest hook, like the dumbest joke.
Oh, yeah.
That they do over and over and
Oh,
over
yeah.
again, but it just gets more and more like pathetic. But he never like breaks and shows his desperation at all. He's like still thinks he's fooling. I don't know.
He's just trying.
Nothing funnier than breaking down
Oh yeah.
bits from movies.
How old were you when you saw Spinal Tap for the
I
first
was
time?
very young. I was too young to get any of it. I don't think
Oh,
I
really?
understood that it was fake,
Okay.
or I don't think I understood that it was being presented as something real.
Mm-hmm.
I was that early on that the concept of a documentary was new, let alone a
Sure.
mockumentary, let alone a mockumentary rockumentary.
So in that sense, like, you didn't get anything. So I'm assuming you probably didn't think it was funny either.
No, not
When you first saw it.
No, not really. I liked the skeleton shirt
Yeah.
that Nigel wears in that movie. I like that a lot.
This
I
is
had
actually anatomically
yeah,
correct.
I had a shirt like that when I was a kid because of that movie.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought it was a cool shirt. And our dog, when I was little, our family dog was actually, my parents named him after Nigel from Spinal Tap. So
Excellent.
it was always around, but I didn't watch it and understand it until probably middle school.
Okay, that's probably when I saw it for the first time. Was around middle school, so I got most of it. Probably didn't get as many sex jokes and stuff quite yet, but definitely got that it was a fake rock band, and I was told that it was all improvised. So it's not like I just had that instilled in me already. Like I was told that, so I was able to appreciate it from the beginning for what it was on that merit. Because just some of the best improvisation ever put down on film is in that movie, and in just any of the Christopher Guest movies after. But I love that. I've also been watching some of the follow-up Spinal Tap stuff that they've
Oh
done.
yeah. I remember. I've seen some of them, but I don't really
They would pop
remember
up
them.
like every now and then.
They'd show up
seems
on, like,
every,
SNL
10 years and stuff.
occasionally.
Yeah, and then they would do like in the mid 90s they had like a Spinal Tap reunion special and stuff like that. Those are all super funny too.
They were
like,
on The Simpsons.
Yes, exactly.
Which is I think that's actually my introduction to Spinal Tap was the Simpsons episode with Spinal Tap. And I don't think I understood then that they were not a real band. I thought they were just a funny
yeah.
real band.
And of course, I mean, that's also the real life experience that Spinal Tap continues to have to this day, of people not understanding that they're a joke band.
Yeah.
And for better and worse, like being offended by them, or just wonderful.
I'm
wonderful
picturing I'm picturing some, wannabe Twitter hero finding the cover to smell the glove.
Oh yeah.
Or finding the description of the cover to smell the glove and getting mad about it.
You could never make this album today.
Yeah. I just rewatched Spinal Tap and it's
wow, guys. Why aren't we talking about this? Let's hear another.
Okay, Dirk, you ready?
Yeah, I was born ready, Nick. Let's go, man.
Dirk Diggler demo.
Vocals up.
You got the touch. Take 7. Excuse me, Reed.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah. After all is said and done, you never walk, you never run. You're a winner. You got to move, you know the streets. Break the rules, take the heat. You're nobody's fool. You're at your best when the going gets rough. You've been put to the test, but it's never enough. You got the touch. You think the bass is taken away from the vocal?
No, not really. Maybe. It sounds balanced to me.
It's definitely taken away from my vocal. Just to take the bass down and bring up the vocal. Okay, let's do it, Nick. You heard him.
You want to take it from the top?
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay.
He will rock you. The heat will roll you. Baby, don't you know? My heat will move your soul. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Love me today. Love me tomorrow. All day, all night, you feel my heat. Feel my heat. I think we should repeat that again. Feel my heat.
Feel my heat. Yeah, it's definitely cool. Let's lay it down. Nick,
You want to lay down?
we rolling on the rehearsal?
Yeah, slow down.
So that was The Touch, featured in Boogie Nights, one of
Yes.
my favorite movies ever.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
The last time I watched it was a couple years ago, and I'd seen it a few times before that, but it was the first time I realized, like, to what extent it's like one of the most beautiful family movies.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Movies about family as like a structure and like a unit. Of like how strong and beautiful family can be, like
Right.
especially in the very last sequence, like
Yeah.
when all the shit's past and it's
Yeah,
like
it's got
we're in
the
the
Beach
calm.
Boys song.
Yeah,
It's
everything
great.
is
Yeah,
everything's good.
and that's kind of what I was talking about, a movie where like the soundtrack features into the
Absolutely.
movie, because you have characters like talking about their stereo systems and trying to make it in the music industry. Yeah, it's just in that sequence, I had never seen something that funny, like conceptually in a movie before. I don't think, where it was like an entire segment dedicated to something as stupid as a porn star getting into like 80s butt rock,
Yeah.
like and trying to make it sound good.
with just
it's just
that
yeah.
perfect like practically karaoke backing track that like the studio must have just had on file, like nothing was tracked.
Do you know
for
the
that.
origin of that song, The
No,
Touch?
no, please tell
It
me.
it's a real song written by a guy named Stan Bush,
Okay.
and it was like the featured song for the animated Transformers movie in the 80s. which was Orson Welles' last film role.
I never saw that.
Yeah,
I
so
knew
so
that.
Paul Thomas Anderson like had this song in the back of his head, I guess, from the Transformers movie, and he's like, that is exactly what my character would make if he was coked out and washed up.
Whenever I see this scene in particular, I'm reminded of something I learned, like one of the first times that my band went into the studio, and the producer was telling us about, and I don't know how true this is now, like after the fact, this is so many years later, I'm like, was he bullshitting? I don't know, because I never looked this up, but he was saying that there is a company that crafts fake, like, onboard, like, gear, like engineering gear, that, like, useless knobs, so you can turn things when your inept clients are making those requests like Dirk was making of, like, you know, can we bring the bass down, like that kind of thing. And so they're knobs that you just turn to make them feel good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
if
that
that's
rules.
true,
I hope
but
that that's true.
Yeah.
It's just like a fail-safe that's built into every music studio. Is like, shit, there's gonna be some dickhead musician.
useless
We just-
phasers.
Yeah, we just need him to.
because you know, like, anytime that you do, like, that idiot's gonna go, oh yeah, definitely, that's definitely the right move.
Well, I always bring up the Beach Boys because I have just the most stories about them stuffed in my stupid head. But there's audio track from when they were in the studio, and the Wilson brothers' dad is like yelling at them to try and get the take right, and he has no idea what he's talking about. He's like drunk, he doesn't know music production whatsoever, and it's a very tense scene. It's like right before they kicked him out as manager, but he would just like dominate the studio, and Nick Vinay, I think was the name of the Capitol Records like in-house producer. He would just like let Murray Wilson, the dad, just like fiddle with knobs that didn't do anything, just so he would shut up and like go back to just yelling at his kids.
I think I've heard those recordings. Those are the same ones where he's like berating them of, like, you know, I could get any band
Exactly.
to do this,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
shit.
That's the one.
What a monster.
Yeah, he's a bad.
Seriously.
But then you find out that like when he was a kid, he had to like wrestle his drunken father to the ground so that he wouldn't like attack his sisters and mom. So it's like just a, you know, all the way down.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Anyway,
all right.
Boogie
That's
Nights.
all right. One last thing I'll say about, like, how well Boogie Nights uses their soundtrack in the way that we're kind of like talking about is, like, when you have not just a period piece movie, but a periods piece movie, like, it helps the viewer like go on this trip through the decades in a really effective way. Because, like, without even putting up 1980, we know we're in the 80s.
Although it does have a title
I know it
screen
does,
that
but I'm
say
saying
the
it wouldn't
80s.
even need to, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like-
because it goes from like funk and disco stuff to like Jesse's Girl and the 80s 80s cheese.
Yeah.
But yeah, not every movie that tries to do that like progression thing where they show the music of different eras, not every movie does it very well, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's easy to make it like a corny progression rather than a thoughtful one.
Yeah, especially if it involves disco at all.
Yeah.
It's like, now we
yeah.
know we're in the 70s because it's disco. You know, like that kind of thing. Let's hear another. That's not the right show. God damn it.
In 1957, Ricardo Valenzuela had his family, his talent, and a dream.
Rock and roll. Come on, baby, just rock. Look at my Richie. He's shining like a star.
I really dig your music, and I'd like to record it.
Oh, Richie, I'm so happy.
By 17,
You have a professional name. Richie Valens.
he was a star.
I love you, Donna. You know, I'm still gonna marry you one of these days.
With 3 hits on the charts.
Holly is lining up a plane to fly us on to Fargo tonight.
Hey, come on, let's go!
But one tragic night in 1959, his star fell.
Richie.
Columbia Pictures presents La Bamba. legend of Richie Valens. A true story. La Bamba.
That was La Bamba. Very important movie to me as a little kid.
Really?
Picking up the guitar when I was around 6. I probably saw La Bamba when I was like 5, like because I seem to remember that being like a reason I wanted to pick up the guitar, because I have this vivid memory of me sitting on the couch watching the movie as it was being played on TV. Like we didn't own the movie, so it was definitely an edited version. And I was strumming a guitar that only had like 3 strings on it. So it was just useless, but like it still felt good to do, like while I was watching the thing. And then visiting it later as, you know, as an older kid, like not an adult yet, but so getting more out of it later on. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it's quite as great as a lot of people make it out to be, because in so many ways it is just your kind of standard biopic. It has a lot of those moments that you as the viewer are supposed to go, oh, there's Buddy Holly, like those moments. But I think the best thing that the movie has going for it isn't even its star, it's the brother character. Have you seen La Bamba?
I have not.
You got to see La Bamba.
Yeah?
I really think you should, mostly for what I'm talking about here is his brother is like a tragic story of like, it's an older brother, but kind of a fuck up, and is now like in the shadow of his little brother. And he went on, I think, to be like an animator. It hints at it in the movie. It's like him like working on some cells late at night, trying to better himself, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, great actor playing that. I don't know who it is, but I think it's a good movie. Have you ever is that era of like early rock and roll something you've ever like really delved into?
Every now and then I tell myself I'm going to get more into it, and then I start to, and it's like, oh, these songs are all great and really catchy, but they are just kind of like they're the fundamentals of everything that would come after.
Yeah.
And so, at least as far as my tastes go, there's only so far I can take that where it's like sonically interesting to me. So I don't know. That's a weird way to put it, but so I know a lot of like hits from that era. I'm like very familiar with the American Graffiti soundtrack, both American Graffiti soundtracks, because they released 2 for the movie.
Yeah.
There's 2 American Graffiti movies, but they released 2 soundtracks for the first American Graffiti movie because the first one sold so well. So they're just like, what? People have all this nostalgia for these like late 50s, early 60s songs. Let's make another one.
Exactly.
Even if they're not in the movie.
Totally.
And it's all really, really good stuff. And it has like little spoken word sections from the movie with Wolfman Jack, the DJ, and he kind of introduces them and stuff. So that's
pretty cool. I didn't know
it's
that.
Like a nice
I
little,
want to check that out.
like curated, like jukebox classics type soundtrack.
I think we have similar takes on this. For me, like I definitely have an appreciation and to some extent like a real love for a lot of those songs. But to me, they're best listened to like in the car. Like I can't just sit down and listen to a Buddy Holly collection, like because it is much of the same. But I kind of went through like a doo-wop phase a few months back, but even that was like strictly vehicle listening. But it really, I think the parts of it that hit me the most are not even the songwriting or the singing; it's the string sections. I love those lush string arrangements that they have on a lot of those from that era.
I agree. That's
beautiful.
That's usually the
stuff.
thing that'll stand out the most to me is when there'll be some weird thing that almost sounds like a Phil Spector.
Yeah.
Like a proto Phil Spector kind of with a little mini orchestra. That stuff's all really cool.
Oh yeah. Well, that's all I really have to say about La Bamba. I don't have a whole lot more. Let's hear another.
This is the second act.
Two little dicky birds sitting on a wall, one called Peter and one called Paul, just like you, look at them. turkey lurkey. Lucy, Lucy, any pennies, you know what I mean?
No.
The history of popular music is like a double helix, okay? That's two waves that intertwine. So one wave goes like this, the other one goes like that. So you've got two waves doing that, okay? Like one like that, one like that. Basically, when one musical movement's in the descendant, another one is in the ascendant. Right now we're in a kind of a crisscross, a kind of hiatus. But the two guys that are going to be on the crest of the next wave are Paul and Sean Ryder. This is a true incident, a bit like the hang gliding, which remember works on two levels. This takes place in 1980 when Sean and Paul put rat poison into some bread and fed it to 3,000 pigeons.
Down! Oh!
Obviously, it's a reconstruction. No pigeons were harmed in the making of this film. Although there are those that say they're pests. Rats with wings.
So that was a clip from 24-Hour Party People.
I haven't seen that.
It's about I just rewatched it for the first time in probably like 13 years or so within the last few weeks, so it's been on my mind a lot. But it's about the like post-punk and then dance and rave scenes in Manchester in the late 70s up through the early 90s, and it just covers pretty much from Joy Division up until the closing of the Hacienda nightclub. And the movie does a thing that a few other movies have tried to do, which is to be about like a moment or a scene rather than about a specific person. So even though like Tony Wilson, this who's a British news like TV presenter who started the record label that signed Joy Division, he's kind of the central character. It's more about all the stuff that's happening around him in it, and it kind of, like you saw, he's talking to the camera and stuff, so it kind of plays with what's real, what's made up for the movie, what is, alleged. There's a lot of scenes like that, and a lot of also just really good scenes that are like recreations of classic shows and classic concerts and stuff. So the movie's soundtrack is also really good. And I guess I also picked that scene from it rather than one that was, say, like of the musicians performing. There's a lot of nice like aerial shots of Manchester in that scene. And that movie uses the city really, really well to say like this is a grungy, filthy, like post-war working class city, and this is where the music is coming from in that.
Yeah.
And the movie, I don't know. It's a good movie, and it's really funny, and Steve Coogan is great in it.
Yeah, I immediately lit up as soon as I saw Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't recognize this, so I know I'm going to like it, though.
It's on Amazon Prime right now.
Gotta see it then. Gotta see it. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Like right up my alley too.
It's
like
so
that
good.
era of like Manchester. Like
it's
that
got
sounds cool.
Joy Division, Happy Mondays. Now I can't remember any of the other bands. The Fall, Durutti Column, all the bands I've been listening to nonstop for like 3 months now, and I can't name a single single one off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, gotta check that out. Let's hear another.
Think people will go for it.
The kids will.
It started as a dream.
A far-out show.
Clean-cut American boys.
No way. Wild boys.
To bring together the perfect combination of talent.
What do I know about being a rock and roller? I can't even play an instrument.
tell you the truth, it doesn't really matter to me who these boys are. You give me a free hand, and I'll have them outselling the Beatles in 6 months.
And create a television sensation.
NBC just picked us up for 26 episodes. We got a show!
The Monkees became an overnight success.
You've outdone yourself, Donnie. This is only the beginning.
Before they knew it,
This is crazy. They barely know who we are.
they were number one.
We hit number 1? Top of the Billboard charts. The Monkees are officially a smash. We did it! Way to go, Johnny!
But behind the fame,
Is it true you guys don't play any instruments?
So we don't play on our records. We're actors.
Okay, maybe it's all right for you guys to just be actors, all right? But for Peter and me, the music comes first.
their personal struggles,
The kids love your song.
It's not about them liking us. Okay, it's about respect, about making a difference.
threatened to tear them apart.
We play on those records, and we have a say in what goes on, or I quit.
You made a deal with us, and we'll tell you what to record. Take a look at your contract.
We're all in this together, right? What if we blow it?
I mean, we'll succeed or we'll fail based on what we do.
A behind-the-scenes look.
Everyone's always comparing us to the Beatles. No comparison.
The whole world knows who you are.
And the winner is the Monkees.
At one unique band,
What are we gonna have to do to get you guys to just sing the song?
in an unforgettable era, starring the bright new talent of George Stanchev as Davy, Aaron Lohr as Mickey,
You know,
Jeff Geddes as Mike,
again.
and L.B. Fisher as Peter.
Well, there you go.
Daydream Believers.
So I think this is our first of the collection of not so great movies. I won't
Yeah.
go as far to say this was a bad made-for-TV biopic.
When is it from? It looks like early 2000s.
It was probably around there because I was fairly little when I first saw it.
The resolution was surprisingly crisp,
Yeah.
so it doesn't strike me as like a VHS transfer.
No, this was on that. So yeah, that was the Monkees biopic, and it is so perfectly cliche for so many biopic reasons. My favorite of which is the uncanny Beatles voice of just so.
I like that it just
extremely
sounds
Liverpool.
like every Beatle.
Exactly.
It's like,
They
it's
just
not
squish
clear,
all of them
It's not
together.
clear which
Yeah.
Beatle is complimenting them. or
I remember
talking
there's
about
also moments like that with like Hendrix because they famously, brought Hendrix on as an opening act for their tour, of some doomed tour that they did, because they all loved Hendrix, but their audience hated Hendrix.
Yeah.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
like
'cause Hendrix
it was
is
a
making-
horrible choice to have him open. Like it's often cited as like in favor of the Monkees, like that's such a cool thing that they did, but really like I don't think it did much for his career.
Yeah, sometime we should do one about just like ill-fated.
Oh yeah,
ill-fated.
There's
tours
some horrible
and festivals.
packages that were put together, and festivals.
Beach Boys
obviously,
and
oh my god,
Beach Boys and the Maharishi did a tour.
Really?
Oh, they canceled it after like 3 dates.
I'm curious, what was the audience more upset at? What
They were
was it-
upset that they had to sit through a lecture on
Okay.
transcendental meditation
I guess
from
that-
someone
that's the next question.
whose
So
accent was
they
so
opened?
thick that they couldn't even understand.
God.
So the Maharishi was just talking aimlessly about transcendental meditation. People were like, we want to see the
Yeah,
Beach Boys.
yeah.
And they had to cancel the tour. It was a huge disaster.
I mean, why wouldn't they just think to
And
flip
this
it,
was after
you know?
he had kind of been Me Too'd as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why the Beatles distanced themselves from him, was because some rumors came out.
I didn't know
Which
that.
you wouldn't expect that kind of swift action.
Yeah,
although I
yeah.
think that since then people have said I think we were wrong.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
this
That's
was
another
this
show.
was this was when he was in his
Yeah.
his Louis C.K. period where it's maybe don't put him on the bill right now. Maybe don't have him open for a musical act.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I
That's just-
I
yeah.
love ill-fated tours.
But this
Back to the
movie,
Monkees.
this movie I enjoyed when I first saw it because I was a kid who loved the Monkees. So really, just not even seeing how stupid a lot of the moments in the movie were. Other great moments, of course, in that trailer include the star making credit listing. Like, I think I recognize the guy who plays Mickey Dolenz.
I didn't recognize
I
a
think
single
I've seen
name.
him in other stuff. I don't recognize his name at all. Like, he's not a name actor. I think he was maybe in some like teen dramas in the mid 2000s. I think he was on like One Tree Hill or something like that. But yeah, none of the other ones I recognize. I recognize some of like the background, not even background people, but like the agent guy. I think that was like the head writer on the Larry Sanders Show.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, he was that guy. Horrible character. But yeah, I still like the Monkees a whole lot. The last couple days I've been listening to the Monkees.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They've got
Really
they
Yeah.
are good. I don't have that wide of a knowledge of them. I know that there's kind of a point where they switched from doing the more TV show oriented like pop songs to doing kind of their own thing with more
It's basically
psychedelic
country
influence
psychedelic
and stuff.
Yeah. A lot of country influence and a lot of psychedelia. Which brings me into the other thing I wanted to say about this. I didn't choose it as a submission for this because I haven't actually seen the film, but another one that came to mind was The Monkey's Head.
Oh,
the movie
yeah.
Head, which I saw the trailer for the first time today. That looks like a goddamn mess. Like,
Is it them trying to do like a Help or a Hard
It's
Day's
sort of
Night?
a Help Hard Day's Night.
There's also a
but even wackier, like
yeah.
mixed with like
There's a bunch of those. Like
Yeah.
Chad and Jeremy did like a soundtrack movie thing, and there's a attempt to recreate Hard Day's Night success with Dave Clark 5 called
really?
I think Catch Us If You Can, and it's they're
so
like,
they literally just watched one scene.
yeah,
from
they
a
saw
Hard
the
Day's
main
Night, like,
scene and they're
that's-
like, all right, we got to write a song now.
Jesus Christ. Oh man.
Help is taken.
But Head looks like I might enjoy some of it. I have a feeling it might be one of those things where it's like half an hour in, I'm like, this needs to be over in 20 minutes or less.
Kind of like the Ringo Starr, Harry Nilsson, Son of Dracula movie.
Yo, yes.
Ringo Starr plays Merlin.
Yeah. What? Did you put that one? I totally
No.
forgot about that
No.
one. I would have put that on. Oh man. Oh, I mean, in a positive way, of another one that I didn't put on was The Point.
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
put on The Point.
I'm surprised I didn't think of that either.
That's a great one. is
Did
The
you watch
Point.
that as a kid?
I didn't.
Oh man, we
I-
rented it on VHS
yeah.
from the library.
I didn't see The Point until I really got into Nilsson, around, I don't know, I was 23 maybe, and then I watched The Point shortly after that. But yeah, it hit all the right spots for me.
Yeah,
when
I would
watched
rather
it.
watch The Point than not Sergeant Pepper, Yellow,
Yellow
Submarine.
Submarine? Really?
Yeah, I would probably rather watch The Point, just because it does. I don't know. I was always kind of annoyed by Yellow Submarine.
It definitely says more,
Yeah.
in that it says anything at all.
Right.
Yellow Submarine doesn't.
It has
say
more
anything
of
at
a
all.
point to
Yes.
it, which is the whole
Yes.
dumb point to the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
I also love the name Oblio for a kid with a round
Yes.
head. As a kid with a round head, I could relate.
I do love the animation in The Point though, because it's that perfect. It makes me think of PBS sort of 70s.
Yeah,
hand-drawn,
really low budget.
Beautiful scratchiness to
Yeah.
it. Electric Company.
Yep.
Sort of. Oh, it's great. But sadly, folks, we didn't put that on either of our lists, so you will not be seeing any portion of The Point. But I think it's still on Tubi. I recently watched it on Tubi, so
Awesome.
check it out. You got to find The Point.
Well, Stephen just now chiming in with a fun fact about the Mickey Dolenz from Daydream Believer, played by Aaron Lohr,
Obviously.
who you might also remember as Dean Portman, one half of the Mighty Ducks Bash Brothers.
Oh.
Oh, and the other one was Eldon Henson.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. I remember that because his last name is similar to my last
Sure.
name.
Oh, okay.
So
he's
there you go.
he was the tough-looking kid.
Mhm. Yeah.
The way Bash Brothers ought to be.
That is interesting, Stephen.
Cari amici, anche per oggi è arrivata l'ora di Blackout. Ecco a voi il presentatore di Blackout, Bob Lane. Salve a tutti, come ogni giorno saluto affettuoso
Romeo and Juliet are together in eternity. Romeo and Juliet, 40,000 men and women every day. Romeo and Juliet, 40,000 men and women every day. They find another 40,000 coming every day. Come on, baby, don't feel the reaper. Baby, shake my hand, don't feel the reaper. Let me fly.
Thank God he's good now, though.
Oh yeah,
He's fine. He's literally one of my favorites.
Gonna go into the whole movie.
Welcome back to The Stand, folks. We're watching The Stand this week.
Welcome back to Standing the Stand. Yeah, that was the opening credits to the TV miniseries adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand.
Yeah.
Not the best Stephen King adaptation by any means.
I was totally gonna say the opposite. It's one of my favorites.
Really?
For not of all adaptations, but specifically of the TV adaptations.
That's
I
fair.
think it's
That's
the
fair.
best.
There's a lot of
It's my, or not even the best, but it's my favorite TV adaptation.
I don't think. I think that that's fair. I don't know that there are any.
Certainly not a film. Like, I'm not counting something like Shawshank or The Green Mile or really
Shining.
any of yeah.
It suffers from that miniseries problem, which is medium quality performances mixed with good quality performances, and the budget is all over the place.
Mhm.
It's got the guy who voices Patrick and
Mhm.
SpongeBob in it, though.
In a great role.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was perfect as that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I pictured when I read it, was him. Like, that kind of person, exactly.
But like we were talking about with Stephen King and music, a lot of times in like the start of a chapter at the beginning of a book, there will be a lyric from like Blue Oyster Cult or Bruce Springsteen or something.
I Was Born in a Dead Man's Town was what opens The Stand. One of, actually, I'll probably say it's my favorite King novel.
Yeah.
Is The Stand. I've read that one probably the most. I'll just go back to because it's like a warm, friendly place for me is reading The Stand. I know that's weird, but it is.
That makes sense.
Just the characters are so rich.
My mom, when I was little and she was trying to like encourage reading, she would talk about staying up all night reading The Stand when she was younger.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I guess Stand came out in the late 70s.
think so, yeah.
She would have been. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
how old my mom is. But
We're gonna get to the bottom of this,
The point is, like, she has like similar memories of The Stand,
Mhm.
and I also picked those opening credits because they felt really relevant.
Yeah.
Just footage of an unprepared healthcare system,
exactly,
and the bodies piling up. But yeah, it's the Stand is funny because there's also. You might be able to actually remember it more specifically, but one of the main characters is like a songwriter, right?
Mhm.
And he has like a hit song.
Yeah.
And there's the two different versions of The Stand that were released. There's like the original like cut down version, and
Yeah.
then there's the expanded one, and the expanded one updates the time by like 10 years, but
Mhm.
it keeps the lyrics to that song the same.
Mhm.
So it's like the early 90s, and the lyrics to a hit song are like babe, you're good at standing by your man, which is just so like it's so like incongruous. It doesn't really make sense and shows just kind
Yeah.
of that funny Stephen King.
I'm a big fan of Stephen King writing lyrics in his stories. Like, I don't have exact ones to pull, but just the other night
gonna
I was
love
reading
Revival.
some. Oh yeah?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like that he makes up for it. Oh god, because they're really bad, and I
Yeah.
wonder if he knows they're really bad. Like in the same way that I wonder how ironic like intentionally so, he feels he's using words like gangsta and playa, because I've been reading more recent King books lately.
All over the place.
So many uses of gangsta, like spelled gangsta. Like
yeah,
he really likes to use that, and I don't think he is doing it jokingly. I think he's just like, that's the words you use.
Yeah.
And it's just, mwah, love it.
Did you ever, speaking of Stephen King TV adaptations,
Mhm.
did you watch that Nightmares and Dreamscapes series?
Yeah.
Do you remember that, like, Boomer Heaven one?
Yes. They have I hear they have a great band, is what it's called.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I remember being so excited for that episode because I was in my prime, like, Cole's Jimi Hendrix t-shirt wearing era, and it's
Yeah.
like, so people
Yeah.
get trapped in a town with Jimi
Janis
Hendrix. That
Joplin
sounds
and-
amazing. And then it was just kind of like a kind of boring episode of TV where
Mhm.
they end up just trapped in this town.
That episode got trashed by the critics.
Really?
It's funny bringing that up because I just recently read about it, like
Oh.
online, like just the wiki page for
Uh-huh.
it. Because I was going through, I was trying to find like the blank spots in my King like
Mhm.
collection, basically, because there's some there, and so I was just going through all of the short story collections to find which ones I hadn't read,
Mhm.
and I had read that collection, but I was still curious what was in it, and so I was on that story and the adaptations. I forgot that they did like a show of
Yeah.
it, and yeah, I forget which critic it was. It was some famous critic who was just saying there is nothing scary about old rock stars. Like, why would they think this is a thing?
And
like,
actually, his son, Joe Hill, has a similar problem in one of his books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Heart-Shaped Box, there's a character in it who's like a aging heavy metal star, and it's just like so corny.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but it's also kind of fun in that same sort of dad way.
exactly, and that's what I take that King story to be truly, is just like he wanted to write a story that had those names in it.
Yeah, and like a boomer purgatory is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
We're living in it.
Yeah, in many ways. Yes, we are. Well, let's hear another.
A place where deals are made and legends are born. And there was a kid they called Lightning Boy. He was searching for the lost song. You could be the first man to record it. For a piece of fame and fortune.
Like Clapton did with Crossroads. The Rolling Stones did it with Love in Vain.
And he was looking to get him there.
Welcome to Bluesville, son. This is the real thing. This ain't no book.
Lightning Boy and Blind Eye. What the hell are you guys supposed to be, huh?
Both bluesmen. Yeah, I'm the blues man. He's from Long Island.
All I need is a Mississippi string tie. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, you need a lot more than that.
You know, the owner walked up to Willie, gave him three $100 bills, and says, your boy can play.
Only one blues man in town tonight. It was me.
I ought to choke you.
You do, and you get knocked on your...
There's a place where deals are made.
And you made your deal at the Crossroads.
Yeah, I made the deal.
Oh, I get it. You want some kind of contest, huh?
You're a real smart boy, ain't you?
Where a thin line separates the good.
I'm giving you all the magic I got.
From the great.
Louis Brown sent me.
Eugene Martone is ready to cross it. Crossroads.
So that was Crossroads.
I have never
Starring
seen
Ralph
that trailer
Macchio.
before.
Yeah. Have you heard of the movie? Were you aware of the?
No,
that
the only
existed?
Crossroads I'm
Was
aware of is the Britney
Spears?
Spears one.
Yeah. About that, I was furious as a kid when the Britney Spears movie came out because I loved this movie, and I was like, God damn it, what are they doing? Like,
This has nothing to do with
yeah,
it. Was a
come
real
on.
it was a real Ghostbusters situation.
Yeah, it really was.
You were at the forefront of a discourse on
So I was probably around 10 or so when I saw this. So I had been playing guitar for a little while, and just already like lumping on every bit of importance of mythology that you do when you're a kid, like learning these things about like Robert Johnson and everything around that. So this movie was perfect for me as a kid. going back to it as an adult, not the best. It's not the best movie.
A little weird.
It's a little weird.
A little weird.
But endearing. I couldn't even tell you confidently what the ins and outs of the story
Does
is.
he get super guitar powers?
No, so he's he's going. So Ralph Macchio's character is going to like a prestigious music college.
Okay, and then
learning
there's
classical
a rival
guitar.
music college.
No.
Where
where they're the blues guys. No.
Yeah, and they're all tougher and blonder, and there's like a really mean one.
Yes. Then he finds a magical Asian man.
Well, he finds a magical black man in this
he
one.
essentially
clearly.
does. Well, the black man kind of finds him. So he's going to school on like a degree. He's like a prodigy for like classical guitar.
Yeah.
Like that's what sort of the opening sequence is, him playing this
Very
incredible,
stodgy.
yeah, like nylon string, you know. But his love is the blues. Like that's the angle with him. It's like he really wants to play the blues. He doesn't want to play this stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone hates him for it. Like he like throws like blues licks into the classical stuff.
Understandable.
And
Have you
they're
ever
like,
been
"Oh,
around
no."
like a blues guy? Someone who just like insists on inserting blues?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would be mad too.
Yeah. Not now, Frankie. So he's working to pay his way through college. Like he's like a not even a nurse, but like an assistant sort of at this like assisted living home where Willie Brown is living. And so he's the Willie Brown mentioned in The Crossroads of Robert Johnson. And so he convinces Ralph Macchio to bust him out of the old folks' home so they can travel to the Crossroads. And so Ralph Macchio obviously doesn't believe that they're going to meet the devil or anything like that. I think he's being coaxed along with the promise of like a never recorded Robert Johnson song that has like the sheet music.
Mhm.
I think that's what the deal is that he thinks he's getting into. But I don't know the specifics, but Willie Brown made a deal with the devil, and so he's trying to win his soul back, I think. So he uses Ralph Macchio to play in his place against the
It's
devil.
like a Futurama episode.
Kind of, yeah. That is similar to that, yeah, where it's like the proxy, and the devil uses a proxy as well in their battle where they're cutting heads, and his is played by Steve Vai.
Okay.
Yeah, which is weird because, spoiler, the way that Ralph Macchio beats the devil is by flip-flop from the beginning of the movie. He's playing the blues at first, going back and forth, but then Ralph Macchio starts incorporating classical theory into it, and then Steve Vai is like, what? Which is stupid because, I mean, it's Steve Vai. Obviously, he would know those things too. Like,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be some foreign concept that would blow his mind and make him lose a battle for Willie Brown's soul.
You wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so. But overall, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, that was not at all the premise that I gleaned from the trailer. I thought it was
You don't
about
get a whole
like,
lot from it, no.
I thought it was about like a kid who gets like Shazam powers.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Kazam powers.
Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
hang
We don't
like
need to
don't
open that.
don't go after me, people, for getting that wrong. But yeah, he gets Kazam. Like maybe he finds like a magic blues guitar and
Yeah.
he plays it, and then a magic black man comes out and is like, "I'm gonna teach you the blues." It's like the blues. That's boring. I want rap. But then he learns, and then he. I don't know.
One thing that this movie did do for me, which I never achieved, was it really put a strong desire to get a little pig nose portable amplifier.
Oh yeah.
Because at one point they're in like a pawn shop, and he gets this sick telly, like old Telecaster, and that little pig nose amp, and they start like busking. And it looked like the coolest thing in the world to me. I wanted that so bad. Never got one.
You ever heard those little tiny amps?
No, they're
though?
terrible. They sound like garbage.
Yeah.
But in a movie where that certainly was not the audio, it sounded great.
Yeah.
You want to do one more and wrap it up, or what are you thinking, boss man? You want to do one more then?
Sure.
Cool.
Get around, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around, get around.
Their music was so exciting, it couldn't be ignored.
Not music. That's the beat, Pop.
That's rock and roll.
Their legend was so strong.
The big record companies are saying that this teen music thing is already over with. You think I have it in me to write a #1 song?
No. They couldn't be stopped.
These kids are going to the top of the charts, top of the world.
Their real story is so shocking.
You're gone! You hear me? Out!
It couldn't be authorized.
I may not always love you, as long as there are stars above you.
Behind the surfboards and the smiles.
We can't be responsible for you anymore.
Behind the girls.
Shannon Harris filed a paternity action against you in Superior Court this morning. What?
And the gold records.
Have you heard Meet the Beatles? I'm never supposed to talk back.
The legends of rock had secrets of their own.
Who are you?
Prophet Manson has fleeced you.
I made you in the Beach Boys. You'd be nothing without me. Nothing.
Summer Dreams. The naked truth behind the Beach Boys.
All I ever wanted was to be the best, you know?
Yeah, well, if it ain't fun, it ain't worth it.
This one's for my brother. This one's for dinner!
Bushy, bushy blonde hair, surfing USA. You'll catch him surfing at this.
So that's the trailer for another wonderful TV movie, Summer Dreams, the Beach Boys, true story of the Beach Boys, whatever. It's Summer Dreams.
Yeah.
And currently, it's been uploaded in its entirety to YouTube. That's kind of like that's kind of the epicenter of where this whole dad rock thing started. I think was watching that on TV when I was very young, and I was like, wait a minute, but the Beach Boys music is happy. Why are they so sad?
Yeah.
Why do they just have beards and they're just sitting around talking about being sad? And that was the first time I like connected with a musical act in that way, where there was like a human story that was bigger than just the music I was familiar with. And it's not very good. As you could see, there's a lot of questionable application of facial hair. The Charles Manson in it, when he's
it looks like they put the spirit gum on like
before
they
there's several scenes where it looks like it's going to fall off by the end. But there's actually two made-for-TV Beach Boys
I've
movies.
seen the other one.
The other one I don't like as much because it's like it's not trashy enough, so it's just boring.
Yeah.
But this one, which came out like a decade earlier, is based on a book called Heroes and Villains, which for a long time was the only Beach Boys book, and a lot of it was made up or came from questionable sources, so it's not the definitive one anymore, but for a long time that was it. And the Summer Dreams is this adaptation of that book, so it focuses more on Dennis Wilson and his tragic life. And Dennis Wilson's played by Bruce Greenwood, actually, who is he's actually really good in the movie.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, and it's weird. The movie is more ambitious than I think a lot of people would expect. It's weirdly sweet in a few parts. Like, the script is kind of good in a few scenes when they're not just going like, it was supposed to be about the music, Brian.
Yeah.
But there's a few just like smaller scenes in it where it's just characters talking, and it's surprisingly thoughtful. So it's kind of a thing where if you like the Beach Boys and you want to see some famous Beach Boys moments acted out, that's probably, other than Love and Mercy, which is like the official, the best one.
Easily.
This one has, a lot of other stuff in it that isn't in Love and Mercy, and it's recreated to like wildly varying degrees of success. And it has like sound-alikes on the soundtrack.
Oh, it does? Oh, that's
so there's
great.
like a montage scene where they're like in the studio making pet sounds, and it's like panning around, and all the musicians are like, you have like the people playing, the stand-up bass and the horns and stuff, and they're singing like God Only Knows, and it's like panning around them. You can see how they pictured it in their minds as this like majestic, like orchestral montage of making this album. but it just looks so bad, and it's just this flat-sounding sound-alike of something that my ears at this point have been trained to like detect at like a moment's notice. Like if I hear just like the first tiny fragment of certain Beach Boys songs, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's that song.
Totally. Yeah.
So it is funny that you have this scene that's like really they put a lot of effort to try and make it look good and look fancy, but it really just looks like 12 people on a soundstage just kind of like running around and making it look like there's as much going on as possible. Yeah, still a sweet movie. And I've watched some behind the scenes featurettes as well, because there was
those are always fun.
There was some like news special where it's like, this is the production of this, controversial Beach Boys biopic. And the interviews with the actors are really funny because half of them just don't give a fuck because it's some shitty TV biopic.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are like, I really want to tell this story, and I know that some of it's not pretty, but like I really think it's like an important story, and I really am excited to tell it. So it's just an interesting intersection of like ambitions and laziness.
And working actors are just like, God, I'm just here to get a paycheck. Are there any glaring like flaws or just incorrect moments in it that you spotted? Because I'm probably going to watch this now, so I would like to know if there's anything just like this did not happen.
The chronology of it, it mixes some things up. But honestly, there's a lot in it that is factually accurate, just presented kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But it's not wildly inaccurate. It doesn't include some of the crazier things that are in the book, which it's kind of a mean-spirited book, I think. They were all at like personal and creative low points when it came out, and the book is just kind of like a kick in the
kicking
gut.
them while they're down.
Yeah, just like look at how fucked up the Beach Boys are, and it's like just leave us alone. But we don't have to end on that sad note, though. It
seems like a very fun movie to watch, and I definitely want to check it out. I think that's our show this week. Thank you guys for tuning in. See us next week when the theme will be something different.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye, baby.
Perfect outro.
I've been fooling about with it for a few months now.
I've owned so many copies.
Very delicate.
Over the years, and
it's a bit of a departure from the kind of thing you normally
borrowed
play.
in return.
Yeah,
so
well,
I
it's part
currently
of
do not own Spinal Tap.
a trilogy, really, a
musical
musical trilogy that I'm doing
like free sites and
in
stuff.
D minor.
That's the one I
which
can't
always
find. I've been able to find all the
is
Christopher
really the
Guest
saddest
movies on
four
like
keys. Really. I don't know why, but it makes
I've
people
been
weep
watching those.
instantly to play that.
It's a whole it's very pretty.
Just simple lines intertwining, very much like I'm really influenced by Mozart and Bach, and it's sort of in between though. It's like a Mach piece, really.
What do you call this?
Well, this piece is called